Hello everybody, my name is John Schaap and today I'm going to talk about using AirWave Instant GUI config to manage large clusters of Aruba Instant Access Points. This video is specifically about using this configuration method for instant APs. Of course, AirWave provides more. It also provides monitoring, reporting, alerting, troubleshooting, etc. of these Aruba Instant clusters, but the purpose of this video is purely to look at GUI config to manage the configuration on a large number of instant clusters. So, what do you need? Of course, you need an AirWave server. I have one set up running the latest version of software. That's 8202. And of course, some instant clusters. On the AirWave side, you basically do not need to configure anything yet. Just leave it as it is in the default state. And then we're going to first look at our first cluster that you see here. I'm using the built-in graphical configuration tool to configure this instant cluster. That's already done. You can see here that I have two networks active, employee and guest. And I also configured all kinds of other stuff on this instant cluster, verified that it does what it needs to do. So now we're going to add it to AirWave. So this instant cluster already has the right config, and basically that config is going to be imported into AirWave. Now, how do you add clusters to AirWave? That can be done in three different ways. Can be done via DHCP option 43. That looks like as follows. So let's go to the DHCP server and look at how that scope is configured. What you see here is two options. Option 43, vendor specific info, and option 60. In option 60 you need to fill in Aruba Instant AP, as it says here, and in 43 you will have what shows down here. So it says Instant AP, that's the group, branch 2, that's the folder where this where devices end up in when they get an IP address from this scope. 172.30.1.202 is the IP address of AirWave, and Aruba 123 is the shared key that we use to connect to AirWave. So this is method 1 using DHCP option 43. The other one that we have is Aruba Activate. Basically, similar thing here. It's a provisioning rule. It converts, or not converts, but it connects an instant AP to AirWave. IP address again of AirWave, that shared key again, and the same organization string, instant AP branch 1 in this case. So Aruba Activate is a service in the cloud, and whenever a factory default instant AP boots up and it has internet connectivity, it will connect to this service, and here you can configure what needs to be done with that factory default instant AP. So this is method number 2, and method number 3 we're going to do right now. So we go to instant. You can see in the bottom here that it says AirWave status not connected, so it is not connected to AirWave at the moment. You go to system, admin, and here we have AirWave. Again here, organization is going to be instant, and this device needs to be in branch 1. The server is 172.30.1.202. No backup server. Pre-shared key again, one more time, and then we click OK. Also make note that while this thing is still not connected, what you see up here, so you have system, RF, security, maintenance. Several of these tabs will be removed once this instant AP connects to AirWave, because from then on all configuration needs to be done from AirWave, and you cannot use the local interface anymore to make changes to this instant cluster. because otherwise you would end up with two different places where you could do configuration, and that would get it out of sync. So all configuration from now on will be done from AirWave. Now, whenever you do something like this, adding it to AirWave, you have to realize that this takes time. The way instant APs connect to AirWave is always from the instant cluster to AirWave. It's never AirWave polling an instant cluster. So it's always an instant cluster that sets up an HTTPS session to AirWave. And there's a timer on that. So and that runs every X minutes. So it can take minutes before a change shows up on a cluster. So you have to be patient and just wait a little while. So that's what we're going to do right now also. So we pause here for a few minutes, and then we see what is happening in AirWave after that. So after a few minutes waiting, we're going to look at AirWave, what happened over there. This was all done automatically. You will see new devices 1. If you click it, that's the instant virtual controller that checks in with AirWave. What also happened in the background is if you go to msetup users, there will be a user called instant admin. That was auto-provisioned from cluster A, as you can see here. So that's automatically, that user is created automatically. And the same goes for a role that you will see here. Now you will notice that they are set to disabled. So enabled is set to no. The same for the admin. You do not need to enable that, only if you want to give a administrator access to only see these devices in AirWave. You could enable this user and role. So you don't need to do anything here. What needs to be done is go to new devices, select it, and then just add the selected devices to AirWave. So right now it's still not managed by AirWave because it's in the new devices tab. You need to add it to AirWave before it starts managing this device. You do not need to tell it where to put it in, so in which group or which folder, because that comes from the organizational string that we previously configured. So we just click add, and whenever you change something in AirWave, you need to confirm it or plan it for or schedule it for a future implementation. That can be done here. So we click apply changes now. New devices goes to 0. And now we need to wait for the AP to check in again and to verify the config. And once that is done, then the instant cluster will be managed by AirWave. So the instant APs have checked in with AirWave, and what you will see right now is that there's 2 devices up. Both of these devices are in branch 2, or sorry, branch 1. 2 devices, you see it down here. It's the virtual controller itself and the physical AP. You always see that as 2 individual devices in AirWave. So the VC is listed as a separate device, although it runs in this case on the same physical AP, because this cluster is really the minimum that you can have. It's just 1 instant AP. So then you have the physical AP and the virtual controller on top of that. And that's also what it says here. So that's the virtual controller, and this is the AP type, an AP105. Now what you also see here is configuration good, but right now, because this is a default group created automatically by the instant AP, it means that there is still no graphical config available. So if you go to the group, instant, in the meantime I also added the second AP in this cluster, so you see that the second one joined AirWave automatically. You don't need to do anything for that, and that's verifying right now. So now I have 1 virtual controller and 2 physical APs in 1 cluster. But what you'll see here is that there's no IGC instant GUI config. There's only templates. Templates are just text-based configs, so it's the show running config of the instant AP. That's not what the purpose of this video was for. So we're gonna change it to instant GUI config. Go to the group again. Now don't click on the name, but on the wrench, and then a little bit down you will find this thing here. Enable instant GUI config. Set to no, as you can see, so set it to yes. Save and apply. And apply changes now. And now it's doing it in the background. If you refresh then, you will see that the template has been changed for instant config. So now you can look at instant config. I click that. And this is how it looks, instant config. In the meantime, I also booted up a second instant cluster that's going to be part of this same group. That's a factory default cluster. There's nothing configured on that instant cluster, but as you will see later on in the video, it will be automatically added to AirWave and configured by AirWave. So right now, there's the group main. That's where we are right now. In the VC list, you will see the number of virtual controllers that you have in this group. Right now, it's just one, cluster A. Cluster B is booting up right now, and that will be added after a few minutes. So, go back to the main again. It's an hierarchical config system. So, whatever you configure in main will be pushed to all the clusters that you have in this group. So, let's say I go to System, and I switched off the LEDs on the APs, set it to disabled. That will be pushed down to all the clusters that you have in this group. So it's not per cluster, but it's all clusters. If you want to go to an individual cluster, you first click the VC list, click cluster A, you will see that it changes here also, and then you click menu again. And now, if I change something here, it says, do you want to work on this virtual controller? Yes or no. Click yes. And if I now would do the LED display to disable here, then it will only be pushed to this cluster and not to all the other ones. So that's the hierarchy that you have in your configuration. So let's see if the other cluster is already up. No, that's still connecting to AirWave. So let's wait a little while and come back when that one is up and show you how that looks. Oh yeah, in the meantime we can look at the instant itself, how that changed. So login, the interface is still available, of course. And as I said before, you're missing all the tabs up here. You can also see that AirWave status is connected, so you cannot do any config management anymore from its own built-in interface. You have to do it from AirWave right now. Okay, we're back, and now we see that there's a total number of 6 devices in this instant group, and those are 2 clusters, cluster A, cluster B, and the access point that belong to those virtual controllers. So if you're now gonna go to instant config, VC list, you will see that there's 2 clusters, cluster A, cluster B. And this is how all your clusters show up in the same group. So that can be hundreds of virtual controllers in a group, and you all manage it then from AirWave. What you also see here is an up arrow behind the cluster. That means that that cluster is reachable and is working fine. If it's down, it's the other way around, of course, down arrow. And if it's synchronizing, so if you change something in the config, it will show you a different symbol. So if you now want to change something, as I said before, on the main level, it will be pushed to both cluster A and cluster B. So again, go to the menu, system, let's disable the LED. Whenever you change something here, there's a save button and an apply button. Save will just save it for later, and apply will initiate synchronization with the APs. So I'm going to hit apply. I'm going to apply it to the group instant, let off, yes. If you now go to the VC list again, then soon you will see that symbol changing to this symbol. That means that it's now checking or waiting for the instant AP clusters to check in with AirWave, and once they do that, then the change, the LED off, will be pushed to the APs. And this as I said before, can take some time. So don't be impatient. Don't think, oh, nothing is happening. You have to wait until the instant AP checks in with AirWave, and that is a matter of minutes and not seconds. So just sit back, relax, and you will see it all comes back to the upstate after a few minutes. And that is just happened. So now they're back in the upstate. What else can you do? Of course, you can configure anything that you need to configure on these APs. So let's do it on an individual one now. Let's do it on cluster B only. Select cluster B, select menu, and then you can change things here. So it does pop up this screen asking you, do you really want to work on this VC alone? You say yes. And then you can, for instance, show you a simple example on how to add a new network. So you click plus, you give it an SSID name, SSID type, employee, voice or guest. Okay, the VLAN, network assigned default is fine, security. Let's take WPA personal, passphrase. Okay, next, and then apply. Now this will only be added to this cluster B right now. So you will not find a network with the name test in the main config or in cluster A. And you also see that only cluster B is synchronizing. Cluster A is not changing. So if we go to cluster A again, then go to menu, networks, you see the test network is not there. The same for main. If you go to main, menu, networks, it is not there. So it will only be configured on cluster B right now. And this is how you configure instant APs from AirWave. So all other clusters that you add to this same group, so you can have different groups, of course. And I have a group named the name instant, but you can make as many groups as you want. All the instant VCs that end up in the same group will get the config from that group. So go there one more time, instant config. And you see cluster B is up again. In cluster B you will see now that on the network side it has that specific test network that we just configured only there and not on the other clusters. So I hope you found this useful, and if you did, please like, subscribe or leave a comment. My name is John Schaap, thanks for watching and goodbye.